Test 2, Part 1, Passage 1. Listen to a conversation between a student and a student union representative.
Hello, welcome to the Student Union.
Thanks. I have a question. Is there anyone here who handles campus events?
Sure, I can help you with that. Do you need information about our event schedule this semester? We have a lot going on around campus.
No, not exactly. I'm the president of the university's cooking club, and we're planning to raise funds for charity. Ideally, we'd like to work with another club that has experience with that sort of thing, so I was wondering if you could help me find another club that might be interested in working together with us.
Oh yeah, I've heard of your club. In fact, I was at last year's student club orientation. I bought a bunch of your food. I had some grilled shrimp with mango salsa. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that would have been our club. We now sell a wide range of dishes at our events, and we've been getting a lot of positive feedback on the variety of menu options we offer.
That's great. So, what kind of fundraising are you planning on?
Well, our main goal is to encourage good eating habits, so we normally put on events to inform the student body about the benefits of good nutrition.
Well, that's very helpful. A lot of students certainly need to change their eating habits.
Yeah, right. That's why we always sell healthy food, to show students that healthy food can be even more delicious than junk food. And sometimes we give cooking presentations to show students how to cook healthy and cheap meals that don't take long to prepare.
Oh, that sounds great. Maybe I should attend one of your presentations.
You're welcome to attend any time. And normally we put the proceeds from our sales back into a fund for the club, which gets spent on stuff for upcoming presentations, like ingredients and educational materials.
Okay, so is that the reason you want to raise funds now?
No, this year we've decided that another one of our goals should be to help the less fortunate. So we want to work together with another club to raise money for an organization that does that kind of social work in our city. We thought it'd be a good way to expose our club to the student body and help some other people out in the process.
In fact, there is an upcoming fundraising event being held by the Social Work Club for the Nobody Goes Hungry campaign. It's to raise money for a homeless shelter. It's normally a big event and lasts the whole weekend. Based on what I saw at this event last year, it would be a good place for you to set up a booth. You'd sell a lot of food.
That's a possibility. Do you know who the club's leader is? I'd like to get in touch with him so I can explain what we're trying to do.
Sure. The way it normally works is a student union rep will contact the group leaders before an event is organized. So in this case, I can help you get in touch with the student leader of the social work club. I'll explain what you'd like to do, collaborate on an event. Are you planning on having a booth there and selling food?
I think so. Our club hasn't ironed out the details perfectly yet, but yes, we'd like to have a booth set up with some health information and sell some healthy food.
Okay, that sounds good. Do you want me to reserve a table at the event for you?
I think that sounds all right, but let me check with my club members before I confirm it with you. Is that okay? I want to make sure we're all on the same page and that everyone's available for the event you mentioned. When is it scheduled to happen?
Let me check. It'll take place 3 weeks from now, on June 11th and 12th.
Okay, sounds good. I'll talk with my group and then get back to you in a day or so. Thanks. Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.
Test 2, Part 1, Passage 2. Listen to part of a talk in an art history class. The professor discusses Jackson Pollock. Let's settle down. Okay, we're going to talk about a celebrated artist, Jackson Pollock. Actually, all famous artists are celebrated for one reason or another. With Pollock, it's his unique style of painting that is worthy of notice. His works caused quite a stir when he first created them, and they still attract attention. Well, before I get ahead of myself, let me give you a brief career of this artist. Jackson Pollock got an early start in art. He studied at the Manual Arts High School in Los Angeles. Then, he and his brother moved to New York City to study under Thomas Hart Benton at the Arts Students League. Benton was a regionalist. Regionalism is a modern American art movement that focused on rural scenes. Its proponents disliked the city and its rapid technological advances. So, during the 1930s, Pollock's work had a very regionalist feel to it. Then, in the mid-1940s, Pollock stopped doing regionalist paintings. The change was a bit abrupt. He just stopped having subjects in his paintings, and his work became more and more abstract. He would, lay a big canvas on the floor, much larger than what most artists would use. Sometimes he would nail it to the floor, and then he'd start painting, but in a very unique manner. I mean, the way Pollock painted on a canvas, well, it was attention-getting. He would walk around his paintings and pour or drip paint here and there. Pollock said this made him feel that he was in the painting. He never used a paintbrush. He occasionally used a knife or a stick to push the paint here and there, and he would sometimes throw bits of glass or sand or some other stuff onto a wet canvas. It was suggested that Pollock may have been doing something similar to Native American sand paintings. He may have been impressed with the thin lines of colored sand that Indian artists trickled onto horizontal surfaces to create elaborate patterns. Anyway, the abstract paintings that Pollock created have been called action paintings, and I suppose they were called that because the very size of the canvas and the type of painting that was being done required Pollock to be constantly on the move, and he didn't stop moving until the painting was finished. Most people are aware that Pollock laid his canvases on the floor, so some of you might think that people need to look down at a Pollock painting because that's the way Pollock painted, looking down at his paintings. You might think it proper to consider the angle at which his paintings should be viewed. But I don't think Pollock had a certain angle in mind when he was painting. Pollock's paintings, whether they were the early regionalist ones or the later abstract ones, they don't demand a special viewpoint. Rather, each line and each shape can be appreciated no matter what angle it is viewed from. To explain what I mean, look at this slide of lavender mist. He did this in 1950. See, you can't settle on any one area. Your eyes keep traveling to this part of the canvas and then that part. You follow the lines that Pollock made, and you don't really need to look down at his painting. It's already an eyeful from the angle at which you're viewing it. Okay, so thanks to Jackson Pollock, New York became the center of modern art. Modern art had its beginnings in Paris, but because neoclassicism was still a popular art movement in that city, modern art didn't really take hold there. It was Pollock's works that grabbed public attention, and for this reason, the center of modern art switched from Paris to New York. A lot of people thought Pollock's works were exciting by comparison. I mean, compared to neoclassicist paintings. Neoclassicist art was far too grand and majestic for ordinary people to understand. They were intimidated by paintings of the interiors of stately buildings and sculptures of the human form. They preferred the straightforwardness of Pollock's art, but not everyone liked his work. Some said he was a fake, not a real artist, that any child could do what he was doing. Even Time, the magazine, called him Jack the Dripper. Not very nice, huh? Now, some people might think that abstract expressionism is all randomness and chaos. I mean, if a painting appears to have no subject, and the paint is dripped on the canvas and swirled around with knives and sticks, it would certainly seem like there's no rhyme or reason to what's on the canvas. Do you agree? Well, I hope you don't. Look at the slide again. Don't you discern a structure to the colors and shapes and lines in this painting? Pollock said of his paintings, "I can control the flow of paint. There is no accident." Before Pollock would start a painting, he already had some idea of how he wanted a particular work to appear. He knew that depending on how he moved his arm or body, different shapes or spots would appear on the canvas. He also knew what the result would be if he didn't control the movement of his body. So, it was like a dance as he moved around the canvas. He would fling, drip, pour, spatter, and he did all of this with great deliberateness. He would keep moving and painting until he saw on the canvas what he had first seen in his mind. He was even willing to destroy a painting if he felt he had not achieved a certain look. Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.
Test 2, Part 1, Passage 3. Listen to part of a lecture in an architecture class.
Today I'd like to talk about the houses being built during the 1950s in America during the post-World War II era. Can someone tell me about this time in American history?
Well, World War II had recently ended, and America and the Allies came out on top, so there was a positive feeling in the air.
Right. And some of this positive energy went into making families. You know, the men had been away at war for a long time, so people started having babies, and these growing families created a huge demand for houses. And where did these people end up living? Think about longer daily commutes.
In the suburbs, right? I mean, more and more people bought cars, and this meant people could live where they wanted and commute to work. So suburban communities began to spring up left and right.
Very good. This is an important point. The vast majority of the housing growth during this period came from a boom in the suburbs, and there were two major trends in home design. One was the Levitt house, and the other was the Eichler home.
Levitt as in Levittown, New York? I had some grandparents who moved there.
That's the one. But don't forget about Levittown, New Jersey, and the Levittowns in Pennsylvania, and even Puerto Rico. You see, the name Levitt was applied to all these housing developments after William Levitt. He designed these planned communities, and he's actually known as the father of American suburbs. Anyway, any ideas about why these homes became so popular?
Wasn't it because they were so affordable?
Yes, that's definitely part of it. But before I get to discussing that, I'd like to talk about another important aspect of the 1950s. You know, aside from being an era marked by prosperity, the decade was also a time of technological development and futurism. Levitt houses reflected this in that they were efficiently designed. All Levitt houses had an open floor plan to minimize the number of walls. They included attics and modern kitchens with built-in appliances. They were made by a way of a 28-step process in which the workers formed a sort of assembly line. And, as you said, they were affordable. They cost under $8,000 to purchase. With their military loans, soldiers could own a Levitt home after only a small down payment. So, you can imagine why they were so popular.
Professor, did you say they used an assembly line to construct their houses? Like a factory?
Well, assembly line might not have been the perfect term, but you get the picture. There was a high demand, so the houses needed to be put up immediately. At any rate, they could get a new house built every 15 minutes or so.
Wow, that's hard to believe. Is building like that even possible?
Sure. Imagine multiple crews were working at one time, but still, this was quite a feat. Has anyone seen pictures or been inside a Levitt home?
I've seen pictures of them. They look really similar to one another. Was that on purpose?
Absolutely. Like I said before, they all included common features. Most of them were your typical single-story ranch homes, but a few of them were split-level ranches, where the living area and kitchen were on the main floor. They also included lots of features like glass sliding doors to create a feeling of open space. Buyers could pick from a few models, but yes, the different models were very uniform. Now, in contrast to the Levitt houses were the Eichler homes. Can anybody tell me about Eichler homes and how they were different from Levitt homes?
I know Eichler homes are on the West Coast, right?
That's right. The majority of Levitt homes were built along the East Coast, but Eichler was the king of the California-style ranch home. Whereas Levitt was primarily concerned with putting up as many homes as he could as quickly and as cheaply as possible, Eichler wanted to bring high design to the masses. He used only top-quality materials and hired highly creative architects. He wanted to build homes that were works of art and that would still be appreciated decades later. They weren't as cheap as Levitt homes, and they weren't built as quickly. While Levitt created nearly identically designed rectangle houses with slanted roofs and centered front doors, Eichler created houses that were individually unique and highly stylized. Eichler was strongly influenced by the trendy architecture of the time in Europe. You know, the Bauhaus movement, Mies van der Rohe. We're talking lots of flat or shallow-pitched roofs, exposed beams, expanses of plate glass. And it sure seems to me that, well, because Eichler was building in California, The warm, sunny climate allowed him to incorporate certain features into his homes that wouldn't be practical in other regions. Almost all of his homes had an atrium or a sunroom of some sort, glass-enclosed rooms that give a feeling of being outdoors even though they're enclosed. He also liked to reuse materials between the exterior and interior of the house to build a stronger connection between the indoors and outdoors, like brick, for example. It was used for the fireplace and the house, so it reinforced the idea that the house and its site were just extensions of each other. A few of his houses even featured outdoor walkways to move between some of the rooms. I'd like to see William Levitt try building those in the Northeast.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.